As New York opened for trading this morning, US stocks slumped. Markets in Europe and Asia also slipped, investors reacting to President Trump's latest move. Last night, the president officially signed off on sweeping tariffs on goods coming into the United States that will hit virtually every trading partner.
We're taking in literally trillions of dollars for the country. This is making our country very rich.
There are new rates now for more than 90 countries, including Canada, after months of bruising talks.
Well, they have to pay a fair rate. That's all. It's very simple. They have been charging very, very high tariffs to our farmers, some over 200%. And they've been treating our farmers very badly. They've been treating our country very badly for years.
This came just hours after Canada's Prime Minister Mark Carney announced a plan to recognise a Palestinian state. Canada has seen its rates jump by 10%, from 25% to a punishing 35%. Some of the world's poorest countries also face high tariffs, including Syria at 41%. Laos and Myanmar have been hit by rates of 40%. And in Europe, Switzerland has been hit with a 39% levy, more than double the rate of its EU neighbours.
This will be indeed the golden age of America. It's coming back. We're going to come back very strongly.
Back in April, when the president first pushed new tariffs on posters, the ambition was to force 90 deals in 90 days, before the pause button was hit twice. A handful of deals have been struck by today's deadline. The UK went first, Keir Starmer agreeing to 10%.
I think it's the biggest deal ever made. Thank you very much.
Over the weekend, the president's trip to Scotland produced a breakthrough with America's biggest trading partner, the EU, who agreed to 15. But much remains unresolved. Mexico has been granted a 90-day extension for more talks because of what the president describes as complexities of the border. But Brazil has been hit with a brutal 50%. Critics say this is a politically motivated choice based on the fact President Trump believes the trial of former President Bolsonaro is a witch hunt. The impact is likely to filter down to US consumers, lifting prices for coffee lovers, worrying businesses like this one in Maryland. Brazilian imports are the backbone of their blends.
Brazil sells the most coffee to the United States, country to country, versus anywhere else. So not only is it going to be a blow to the US, but it's also going to be a blow to Brazil and the producers there. This is all a farce. There's a fundamental lack of understanding of how tariffs work, the fact that they are really a tax on American people and not on business.
It is too soon to assess how much trouble is brewing. The tariffs are due to take effect from next week.
Well, joining me now from Washington is Nazat Nikakta, who served as Assistant Secretary at the Department of Commerce during Donald Trump's first presidency. And from Canada, Moshe Landa, who's a Senior Lecturer in Economics at Concordia University in Montreal and an expert in international trade policy. Mr. Landa, does Canada's very high tariff make any economic sense to you, or do you think it's political?
It's entirely political. It makes no economic sense. Canada and the US have had a free trade agreement bilaterally for almost 4 decades and trilaterally with Mexico for over 25 years. Both countries have done very well from it. The fact that Mexico is being given an exemption, Canada is being hit with 35% tariffs, industries that are essential to the US are being targeted in Canada, and the thought that somehow with the snap of a finger, you can just change the production system between the two countries is laughable. But it's a sign that the American president sees trade as a zero-sum game, which is just fundamentally not true. And if he views that Canada is somehow winning, then in his view, it must be that the US is losing, and he's trying to take corrective action rather than realizing that his logic is flawed to begin with.
Now, about 90% of Canada's exports are covered by a separate deal, though, not affected by the headline tariff. So how much of an impact will it have?
In the short run, the impact is going to be marginal. Even if it were only 60% is covered under the existing free trade agreement, you can't turn the ship of state with the snap of a finger. It's more like a luxury cruise liner that takes a long time to be able to turn before you start to realize that it's moved. Same thing's going to happen here. We've started to see little trickles of data in the US and in Canada that shows that the damage is being done, but it's going to be over a longer time period that we see that American consumers are really going to be damaged and Canadian producers are going to be damaged as well. This is not going to be a gain for either country, although there will be small segments in each country that do benefit from it. It's important to realize that the people who lose from this policy are going to well exceed in dollar terms and in number those that win from it.
Nazat Nikakta, how long do you think Donald Trump can get away with persuading Americans that it's not them who are paying the tariffs?
Look, I think the president, it's good to be with you. I think the president has enormous support from the American constituents who are understanding that they're losing jobs. Their ability to earn money to put food on the table for their children is being compromised by other countries' unfair trading practices. And I actually do take an issue with what was just said. I think trade, when you have distorted trade, when you have trading partners that are subsidizing their industries to the detriment of ours, I think it does become a zero-sum game. Maybe not as a whole, but when you look at it sector by sector, very much so. And I think the president is frustrated with Canada. The president called out Canada on its unfair trading practices, and Canada, in response, rather than saying, I get it, we have some subsidies that we have to resolve, turned around and slapped retaliatory tariffs back on the United States. The only two countries that have done that are China and Canada. So absolutely, I think that the president is saying, look, my applied tariff rates on Canada, goods from Canada, are nearly zero. Canada's average applied tariff rate against the US has been, about near close to the double digits, or about 10%. This is unfair. We've got to fix this. And Canada says, no, I'm going to tariff you right back. I think that's a problem.
But why aren't American people seeing this for what it is, which is a massive tax rise? They're the ones paying for this to go into American coffers. It's robbing Peter to pay Paul, but both Peter and Paul are Americans.
Yeah, I think that's what people normally traditionally think. But look, if you are actually introducing tariffs to correct for distortions, we're going to see a wage rise. And the relatively more expensive things will be offset by a rise in wages. So I think that there's going to be a short term, yes, will there be price increases? Yeah. But I think the American workers are banking on a rise in wages to be able to offset things becoming slightly more expensive.
Moshe, Landa, do you think the president can get away with this? I mean, the predictions of sort of disaster that were going on in America in April haven't happened yet, mostly because of stockpiling. But, how long can he get away with it?
Well, you see that the way that stock markets around the world are reacting, they're cold and unemotional when it comes to these things. They're just looking at the bottom line. And so hopefully a business person as president can recognize that markets are not viewing this as good economics. They're maybe viewing it as good politics. And if his base is agreeing that this is a good idea, they might agree with it now. At some point, though, the data will start to show that there are job losses. The most recent jobs report is much weaker than it should have been in the US, which suggests that there is some correction that's being made here. Prices will eventually rise. And you're seeing that the pressure that he's putting on the Fed to cut interest rates is a recognition that inflation is going to be a problem, the economy is going to be a problem, and his solution is let's just compound the problem with even more bad economics. It really is, how fast does he want to back away from this, and how can he claim victory while trying to undo the worst excesses that he's imposing on a variety of countries, not just Canada.
Nazat, what do you make of that?
Yeah, I want to remind folks, your viewers, that in the first Trump administration, when we put tariffs on steel and aluminum to address the global distortions in the market, the steel and aluminum sectors grew stronger. I also want to remind the viewers that there are over 760 trade remedy cases right now, anti-dumping cases, countervailing duty cases. We haven't seen job losses or adverse impact of the markets. In fact, those sectors have gotten stronger. A neutral government body, the International Trade Commission, did an analytic study on Trump's first term tariffs and found that they had infinitesimal or zero inflationary impact on the U.S. economy. So I think this, the economists will extrapolate what they want to, but as an industry economist who's lived this for over 25 years, I think it's much ado about nothing.
Well, Nazat Nikakta and Moshe Landa, thank you very much indeed for joining us.